This is my new girlfriend. I'm like kneeling on a pillow to make this shot work, so hopefully I don't die. Hi, what is up guys? I am back with another video. So today we are talking about Depop secrets that most sellers don't want you to know about, and that I feel like a lot of sellers don't even know about themselves. So quarantine has been rough on a lot of us. I think sales were really good, especially in like May, June of quarantine when no one could go outside because people wanted to online shop. But we also couldn't go thrifting and go source stock or anything. And so a lot of us got really good at eBay and other sources of getting stock. So this is just basically me explaining how to get stock other than thrift stores. And this is gonna be no drop shipping, no AliExpress items, no really new clothing. It's all vintage because that's what I focus my shop on. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first one was obviously still unavailable through quarantine because it still is a physical store, but this is Unclaimed freight stores. Now, most Unclaimed freight stores are like furniture stores and they only sell furniture, so that's not really a thing that you really need to be selling online unless you're like willing to pay a bunch for shipping. But there are a lot of Unclaimed freight stores that will have like one section that's furniture and then have a bunch of stuff that's not furniture. They rarely really have clothes, and if they do, it's usually not that great. But some Unclaimed freight stores have unclaimed freight, that's what it's for. But some of the stuff has just been sitting in storage units for literally like 10 to 20 years. This is a great option to get lots of early 2000s stuff, more for like loot bags, mystery boxes, because it's more like stationery, toys, stuff like that. I remember growing up, my mom used to always go to this Unclaimed freight store near us, and all of my Valentines growing up were from like the 90s, and every Valentine's Day they still sell the same like 90s like Nickelodeon Valentines. They just have so much of it and they try to get rid of it every year. But yeah, that's a great option if you're looking for stuff. A lot of the times they'll have accessories. Like some of my favorite accessories for myself or for the shop has been from Unclaimed freight stores. So that's a good thing to keep an eye out on, or in your area, or if you're ever going on a trip. Next up is obviously eBay. Everyone knows about eBay, but there are so many items listed on eBay every day, and that can be a total advantage because not everyone is seeing the same stuff you are, or it can be a disadvantage if you don't know how to sift through it all. So it is important to have saved searches. There's an option to save searches on eBay, and I usually just check it 1 or 2 times a day. Well, actually, I have like over 150 searches, so I'm checking it like throughout the day. Usually it's the first thing I do when I wake up because I don't leave the house, and the last thing I do when I go to bed. I just spend all day on eBay trying to find some good deals. You will be paying more for items, but you kind of have to balance that and make sure your prices aren't super high because of it. I saw people during quarantine selling like Powerpuff Girls or like Trip New York City stuff for way more than it's actually worth or that people are willing to pay. So you really do have to keep an eye out on your budget, even if something is really cute. If it's too expensive for your shop, you either have to just buy it for yourself or just not get it. Next is Facebook Marketplace, and I know some people are like, I live in the middle of nowhere. Facebook Marketplace is useless to me. There's literally nothing there. Well, I actually just a couple days ago, I live in a very small town. It is a population of 1,000, around 1,000, yeah. And I'm about 20 minutes away from like an actual pretty big town, like almost a city, but not quite. I found a really good pair of Trip New York City pants from someone who lives literally 5 minutes away from me a couple days ago. Like, you never know where you're gonna find. And once in a great while, I will find someone, and usually they're like an hour or two away from me, or like in Minneapolis, or just out in the middle of nowhere far away from me. company, and they will have so much stuff that makes it like way worth the drive. Stuff that you would never be able to get on eBay because shipping would be too much. With Facebook Marketplace, you really have to learn how to kind of profile people a little bit. That sounds weird, but if you're just looking through keywords like trip New York City or goth, and you see something that is like super ugly, but you have a feeling that it could be old, like say up to like 2008, 2010 Hot Topic, I would first look at their market profile and see if they have any other listings that have older Hot Topic stuff, even if it's not anything that you're interested in. And Hot Topic is just an example. It could literally be anything. And then you have to look at that person's Facebook profile. If they look like they're in their like 30s or 40s and they would have been in high school or in their 20s during the time period you're looking for, that is a really good sign, especially if they seem like they're kind of like kooky or still like goth. And it never hurts to just message someone and say, hey, do you have anything by this brand or in this style from this time period that you haven't listed yet? And a lot of the times people will be like, yeah, I didn't even think about listing that because I thought no one would want it. Here's some pictures. I'll give it to you for cheap. And then you end up with a ton more stuff than that was even on Facebook Marketplace in the first place. Next up is swap meets, and this isn't really usually that great for clothes. I think it depends on what swap meet you're going to and where it is. There's one in my area. It's like almost 2 hours away. I usually go once in the beginning of summer and once at the end of summer, and it's literally in the middle of nowhere in this huge field, and it's just people selling their stuff all summer long. They get their at like 5 a.m. and start selling, and usually if you get there like after 10 a.m. all the good stuff is already gone, or people are like packing up already because they've been there for like 6 hours. So you kind of have to get there early, and if it's a long drive it kind of sucks, but sometimes I'll like bring a friend or go by myself and I just have fun listening to tunes. They usually have a lot of like vintage toys if that's something you're into. I don't really sell toys on my Depop anymore, it's more for myself, but I have found some really cool stuff, like some of these vintage 1990s Bart pins that are like this big. I found a whole case of them that this lady was selling, and she had ones from like the 80s too that had like Madonna and stuff, but I only got one case from her, and you have to make sure that you haggle a little bit with the prices because that's how you get a really good deal. Yeah, swap meets, you never know where you're gonna find. A lot of it's gonna be garbage and overpriced, but some of it can be really good. It's just all part of the hunt. Okay, so maybe this is a more specific one, but dead people's houses. So my mom is in her like late 50s, and she has a lot of friends who like have parents or like family members that will pass away, and they have like a lifetime of stuff that's sitting in this house that like nobody's living in anymore. And I've actually had people reach out to me and be like, hey, do you want to look through my late mother's closet before we donate everything to Goodwill? And I've done that, and I found some amazing stuff. That's a really good place to find really old stuff. I have some really cool 60s dresses that I've been hanging on to from that exact situation, and it's one of those things that you kind of just have to like fall into. It's kind of a weird thing to bring up with someone, so I don't know, I guess just keep an eye out. If you have like a friend of a friend, maybe offer to help them clean. You never know what you'll find. But then the more traditional way of finding places like that is estate sales. And I've only been to one estate sale. It was when I went to go visit my mom's friend in Duluth, and they have a lot of really old houses there, like Victorian era houses. It's a great chance to look at some beautiful old houses, because usually if it's an estate sale, it's a really large house that has a lot of things, and it's also kind of a way to gauge interest in selling the house. I think that's part of a reason that people do estate sales. And I didn't really find anything the one time I went. I did find like one cool 60s belt, but a lot of it seemed kind of picked over already. But I know a lot of people who just go absolutely crazy for estate sales. There was a show that I watched. Oh my god, it was called Girl Boss, and I did an entire report on that show and the person behind it, who is the creator of Nasty Gal, and it's completely inaccurate. Not a lot of the stuff happened. The main character is pretty much just a bad person in the show and in real life. But that is something that she totally did living in San Francisco. She would go to estate sales and find crazy stuff and list it on eBay, and that's how Nasty Gal was started, as an eBay shop. And then they went on to be a fast fashion conglomerate. We love to see it. Okay, the last thing is a recent thing that I have discovered, and it has honestly changed the game for me. And it really, to find these things, you kind of have to have a certain mindset and have an understanding of how business works. So there are stores out there that have existed for 20 plus years, and these are usually really small businesses, and they have a lot of stock that they are just willing to get rid of. And the older stuff that we're looking for, obviously like 90s, early 2000s stuff, to them, it's stock they've been trying to get rid of for 20 years. So if you are looking carefully, either in person or online, you will find these small businesses who have great deals on vintage t-shirts or vintage, or just anything in general that they don't even know is vintage. That is a great opportunity to find mint in condition, dead stock stuff, though sometimes it's not always in mint condition. This stuff has been in storage for 20 years. I recently found a huge lot, and like all of it had stains all over it, but it was just like storage stains, water stains, so I managed to spend like an entire afternoon getting it all out. So that worked out okay for me, but you do sometimes have to be careful. That's another great opportunity, if they still have a lot of sizes available, to start getting more plus size stuff. It's really good to have as many sizes available as you can on your shop, obviously. Not even from a business standpoint, just because it's the nice human thing to do, to offer things in all sizes. So whenever I find lots like that and I get to like pick between sizes, I pick as many bigger sizes as I can, because a lot of the things that I do sell on my shop are from the children's section. Like some of it's stuff that won't even fit me, and I have to get a smaller model. So it's really good to try to get plus size stuff when you can. And it's also great getting it from non-thrift stores, because you're not taking away opportunities from plus size people who want cute clothes, and there aren't like a ton of options in thrift stores. There's a lot of discourse, I guess, about that particular subject, and everyone has a different opinion on it, but I think you doing everything in moderation and consciously is the right choice. So yeah, I think that this is a really important part of Depop and reselling in general. Just as many different ways to get stock as you can, because if one dries up, you have another, and it just gives you a lot of different options for a lot of different kinds of stock. And it really opens your world up once you see what's all out there besides thrift stores. So yeah, I hope you really enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun discovering this stuff, especially during quarantine. And I hope that what I've said is at least a little bit helpful. And I hope you have a good one. Bye.